afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And welcome back.
Lance, good afternoon.
Welcome back, everyone. To Pandesal Talks.
And thank you to everyone who has been following us via Instagram, YouTube,
Spotify.
and also giving us messages, suggestions.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for all the feedback.
Actually, Wilson, we
Amazing.
the highest episode total that we've had in our Lumpia episode.
Wow, I was surprised.
100 plus comments
Wow.
from our netizens, and maraming salamat
So
for
it means
for the support.
It means a lot of our viewers are lumpia lovers. They love eating like me.
Okay, so Wilson, today our episode, I'd like to do an economic review.
Yes.
Or sort of like an economic outlook on so far.
Yes.
We're 3 years into President BBM's
Yes.
stay in our government,
Yes.
right? So I want to look into your thoughts on it economically, right?
Yes.
Strategically. And mamaya siguro pwede natin daanan yung mga usual headlines like ICC and drug war and whatnot, right?
Yes.
But for now, I want to really focus more on the objective standpoint. So let's start. Wilson, so far, can you give us maybe 1 to 2 things that you like so far in our present economy, and maybe 1 to 2 things that you're a little bit worried about under President BBM?
Very nice question. I will start muna with the positive. Everything we start with a little positive. I'm an optimist by nature. All business people should be optimists by nature. Whatever the circumstances, even if bad environment, chaotic. I think in the Philippines, the good thing about President Bongbong Marcos, like all other presidents of the Philippines in the last few administrations, they have had good technocrats. There are good technocrats, competent people appointed to government. In fairness to President Bongbong Marcos, the good news, he has finally, after 1 year in office as Agriculture Secretary, I don't think he could do it because he's too busy. Now he has a full-time guy who is a competent, marunong na agriculture expert, Francisco Q. Laurel Jr. Kiko Laurel is a smart guy, is a hands-on, he knows agriculture than most people. So that is at least somebody is full-time there. We now have a new DTI secretary, relatively new. The previous one was a professional guy, also technocrat, Pascual. Now we have another guy. And then I am impressed with most of his economic managers. Central Bank Governor, Bangko Central Governor Remolano is competent, veteran finance guy.
So this is the guy that replaced Jokno, right?
Jokno is very outstanding Bangko Central Governor. He is still in the monetary board. He is part of the government still.
Parang consultant na lang.
Parang consultant na lang.
Okay.
But that guy is very outstanding. I think he is underutilized. And then who else? The Finance Secretary, Ralph Recto, is a very good politician. But one thing unique about Ralph Recto, unlike other politicians, he is one politician who knows economy and finance. So I hope he will help manage our economy well. I hope he will prioritize economic priorities more than political considerations. Because it is important. Who else? You earlier asked me before we started, one of the best appointments of President Bongbong Marcos, reassuring for the business community and for everyone, is the appointment of the very smart, very hardworking, outstanding guy, Frederick Go.
Of course, of Robinsons, correct?
Yes, Robinsons Land president before and CEO. He grew that company to a very big conglomerate now. And he's now the president's chief advisor on economic affairs. And I think that is one of the best appointments of President Bongbong Marcos.
What's your take, Wilson, if it's sort of like a transition from a corporate role?
Yes.
Right? And just recently, he also hired the ICT secretary, what's his name? I think Henry Aguda of Union Bank.
Yes.
No?
I don't know that,
anong take mo
that
dyan?
I don't know Agoda too well, but based on news, he is a competent person. But I want to acknowledge also that the outgoing, the one that who just left, Attorney Ivan Uy, Secretary Ivan Uy, is a very smart, very hardworking, good guy. I personally know him. He and I, with other young business people, a few decades ago, were co-founders of Anvil Business Club.
Oh, wow.
We were among the
Hindi ko alam
17
yun, ah.
co-founders of Anvil Business
Wow.
Club. So I know him personally. He is a very good guy. His departure from the Marcos administration is, to me, my personal opinion, a loss to the government. He's a good guy.
Wilson, I mean, for these former CEOs, right? I bet they're making maybe 7, 8 digits a month, right? From the company, right? Why do you think are they moving to national government, right? At the sacrifice, to your point, bakit nila sacrifice tong ginawa nila, itong success nila?
Some people, when they've already earned a lot of money, they've already earned many millions every year, every month, up to a point in their life, it's no longer money that is important to them. Maybe they want more challenge. They want to do something more important. So in fairness to President Bongbong Marcos, similar to Duterte, similar to Gloria Arroyo, the economic managers of the Philippines have been consistently solid, generally uncontroversial, and they follow basically the same good policies. The negative naman about our Philippine economy, our economy naman in the Philippines has been growing in the past 3 years around 5 to 6% a year. Based on statistics, it's supposedly one of the fastest in Southeast Asia, maybe number 1, number 2. But from a businessman's point of view like me, I am very impatient. Why I'm patient? I think 5 or 6% is a year economic growth for the Philippines is underperformance. Underperformance, ibig sabihin, this guy could be a gold medalist, pero pasang-awa lang ang nangyayari. I feel because underperforming.
Underperforming our potential, diba?
Yes, like ang feeling ko, like in the Philippines today, the reality, the unvarnished reality, we have 60 to 70% poor. The government statistics bureau claims the poverty is like 10, 20, 30%. But I researched the estimates, the various estimates, the surveys of people who are poor, who feel they are poor. I think my estimate is 60 to 70% of people are poor. And based on my estimates, in order for the Philippines to overcome poverty, you need double-digit economic growth every year. Ibig sabihin, your economic growth should be 10, 11, 12% every year. Not 1 year,
Did
chamba,
we ever
2 years.
reach that point before in a president?
I could not.
Anyone?
I could not remember
Malayo.
in my life.
Malayo.
Maybe the highest, maybe 7, 8%. But I'm disappointed because we should not be fooled. I think the president is well-meaning, but I am impatient because I go out in the streets, I see people. There are still many beggars in the streets, maybe more homeless people, and in the provinces. I am worried that we are not maximizing the full potentials of the Philippines. And also, for the past 2 years, last year and this year, a lot of business people are complaining. Small, medium enterprises, businesses are not happy with what's happening. So economy is not at its best now. The economy is growing. Macroeconomic picture is nice. It looks nice, the numbers. But for medium and small business people, business is not good. So hopefully there will be more reforms. What I see in the Philippines lands, two, three things. I personally believe three things we have to fix. If we can fix these three things, the economy will be really prosperous and progressive. Number one, we have to fix the foreign direct investments. No economy in the world can grow very fast without foreign direct investments. Unless you are Saudi Arabia, unless you are Qatar, you are overflowing with oil, you don't need anything else except oil.
Which is I think where Singapore is great at, di ba?
Yes.
Ang dami naglalagay sa kanila.
Singapore,
Diba?
ang daming foreign investments. China grew super wealthy in 40 years with flood of foreign investments. Communist country pa yan, ha? Our neighbor Vietnam, our competitor Vietnam, is following the China footsteps. The China playbook, they are copying everything. Politically, socially, economically, strategies they're following. So most of the foreign investors are going to Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Philippines, one of the lowest. Number two, we have an industry that should be number one in Asia, tourism. Tourism, we have a very good tourism secretary. Si Frasco, Secretary Frasco is very personable, hardworking, sincere, and dynamic. But we have not yet maximized our tourism potentials. Our tourism numbers are so way below Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, when we have better tourism resources. So that's two things we are losing to our ASEAN neighbors. Number three, agriculture. Agriculture, we cannot ignore agriculture because without good agriculture, we don't have food security. If we don't have food security, even if we have all the money in the world, if suddenly the world suffers drought or famine or global disruption in food supply, suddenly there's no rice to buy. Even if you have all the money in the world, and if Thailand, Vietnam, India, and the others cannot export to you rice, if there's a ban on exports, what will we eat? Aside from bread, what can we eat? We have to have food security. So those things are, to me, bothersome. We are underperforming, unfortunately. And final point pa, I think our too noisy, too toxic, too quarrelsome politics in the Philippines is a big black eye, actually two black eyes yan, to the Philippine economic picture. So if you're a foreign investor in Switzerland, in Shanghai, Singapore, Germany, London, or even New York, if you see all this news about president quarreling with the vice president, president quarreling with the immediate past president, the speaker of the house quarreling with the vice president, senators are focused on an impeachment trial, and all these things are very bad for the Philippine economic situation.
I also like to ask you, right?
Yes.
In this regime,
Yes.
mainit ngayon yung usapang USA versus China, right?
Yes, yes.
So,
Very.
what do you think under President BBM, right?
Yes.
You don't have to give me a black and white answer,
Yes.
right? But tingin mo ba, are we inclining a little bit more to our USA or to China, where I think President Duterte is more of a
Yes.
companion with?
Ako, ang thinking ko, unfortunately, the Philippine situation now is we are getting involved in the geopolitics rivalry of USA and China unnecessarily. Unfortunately, it's very avoidable. In fact, I would want the Philippines to be like Thailand. Thailand is not only close to USA, close to China equally. They are also close to Russia. They are also close to Japan. I'll tell you, even in the Iran and Israel conflict, I remember a Thai diplomat telling me they are very good friend of Israel. They're also very good friend of Iran. In fact, an Iranian diplomat, also Thai diplomat, told me, in Bangkok, you have direct flights to Iran. It's a country that is very good at balancing. Malaysia is also very smart. Malaysia is good friend of USA, China, UK. So all the ASEAN countries, except Philippines and Cambodia. Philippines is too pro-USA now. Cambodia in the past is too pro-China. But they are trying to be balanced now, I heard. I think the smartest country is a small country like ours should be true friend of all the big countries and not be used by China or USA against anyone.
What do you think? Earlier you said we are getting caught up between these two, right? What are the signs that you are seeing na medyo naiipit tayo right now, no?
Yes.
What do you mean? What
For
do you mean by
example,
that? Can you expound on that?
Tourism. Thailand last year welcomed 6-7 million China tourists.
Okay.
Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, even Japan and South Korea, each one of them welcomed several million China tourists per year. Last year, Philippines, we have one of the best places in the world. We have the best destination in Asia, in the world. But we have only, I think, 300,000 China tourists only. Very few.
And this is different from different past regimes.
Yes, this is very different because in the Duterte
pala, no?
regime, just before the pandemic, 1.8 or 1.9 million China tourists already. Already number 2 next to Koreans. So we are losing out. That is one example. Number 2, in the whole ASEAN, you have all the big companies of China and USA investing in factories. In Indonesia, you have all these BYD car factory. You have this giant electric car battery companies. You have even Google of USA investing in Malaysia. Because of us being entangled in the USA-China conflict and siding with China, USA against China, both of them are not investing here. No big US companies are here. The big US companies are in Vietnam, are in Malaysia, in Indonesia, Thailand, because even the big companies of America don't want to be part of a conflict zone. Even American companies, when they see all these news about conflict, about sea clashes and all this, no American companies, giant ones, would want to invest billions here. They would prefer to invest in Vietnam and Malaysia.
Because it's not good for business.
Yes.
Diba?
And big China companies are not investing here also. So we are losing out from these two countries. Yes. And about Duterte, you mentioned about Duterte saying that Duterte is pro-China. But I want to correct the misconception based on my studies. I think I'm not, I don't know Duterte that well, but based on my observation, Duterte is similar to Gloria Arroyo. What do I mean? They are Machiavellian. You know, si Machiavelli of Italy, he is very practical and pragmatic, very shrewd and clever. So actually, I think it is very unfair and simplistic to classify Duterte era as entirely pro-China. Why do I say that? In substance, we have to analyze the substance. During the Duterte era, he, Machiavellian way, appointed the Philippine ambassador to Washington, si Babes Romualdez, who is the most pro-American guy in the Philippines. Very pro-American guy. So he sent him there. Then our foreign minister, our foreign secretary under Duterte, he chose also a very good friend of USA, Teddy Boy Locsin. I think Teddy Boy Locsin is very smart, talented, and nationalistic. But he is, I think, he knows America better than Americans. He is more American educated and more fluent in English than the Americans. So nobody could accuse him of being pro-China. He is actually at heart close to the US. And number 3, the most important also, the defense secretary of Duterte, si Delphine Lorenzana, also friendly and closer to USA than to China, Russia, or any other country. He was former Philippine he was former Philippine Veterans Attaché based in Washington for several years. So I think in the case of President Duterte, he was Machiavellian. He was actually balancing things. Personally, he himself would make anti-US pronouncements, would always praise not only China, in fairness, including Russia. He would praise these two countries which are considered rivals of USA. But in reality, all the policies of the Philippines that are pro-USA continued and expanded under Duterte. Why do I say so? The military exercises of the Philippines and USA during Duterte time expanded. It wasn't stopped. It wasn't decreased, number one. Number two, everything about diplomatic exchanges continued under Duterte because you have a foreign secretary that knows America better than the Americans.
So parang general ano lang siya, no? What you see on the surface. Pero technically the moves...
He's very good. He will do this as a leverage to the US. My theory is he would make pronouncements that are shocking, that are seemingly anti-USA and seemingly pro-Putin, pro-Xi Jinping. I think as bargaining chips so he could get more aid from USA. Yes.
2025 national budget. I want to talk about that. You wrote about it in Abante, right? So,
yes.
Meron akong graph dito.
Yes.
Pertaining to the breakdown so far of the 2025 national budget, right?
Yes.
And Wilson, I was researching.
Yes.
I was researching about this chart, right?
Yes.
And may isa kang sinulat sa Abante. Do you think,
yes.
Wilson, let's say you are part of that government administration, right?
Dito lang
do you think
alas,
they just were doing the job that they were tasked
Galing mo, ha?
Or talagang meron din something dito?
I'm very disturbed lang because there are complaints. Former BBM, Bongbong Marcos, former Finance Undersecretary, Cielo Magno, professor of UP Economics and Law, she complained about our budget. She described our budget as the most, to make it more diplomatic, it's the most scandalous now, or the most controversial. There are too much allocation for ayuda, too much giveaway through politicians. Okay. That is one complaint.
It's a big loophole for corruption.
Yes. Not only corruption, inefficiency. I am less harsh. I'm less harsh.
Why would you say that? Right?
I consider it inefficiency because pag corruption, sasabihin nila, Wilson is judgmental and all that. But inefficiency is pure unemotional, not judgmental. Talagang a lot of wastage. I'll tell you, because it's election year, I don't know why like that our budget. I heard the education part is not actually the largest. There are certain parts of like training of other government agencies or the school of police or something lumped together there, and then to make it constitutionally now the largest. But actually, there are many question marks in our national budget. Alam mo, Lance, one of the best ways to uplift the Philippine economy, to make the lives of the masses and the middle class and small and medium entrepreneurs better is through the budget. It's one great way for the government to bring energy to the economy. But if the budget is supposedly wasted, supposedly not wisely utilized, and we have to keep borrowing money. We have to keep borrowing money, the Philippine government, every year to pang gastos lang sa budget. It will make the country poorer.
I see. Siguro I wanted to deep dive a bit, no?
Yes.
Why do you say that ang pagbibigay, nag-aalat ng maraming pera sa, let's say, pagbibigay ng ayuda is inefficient? Wala kung tinignan mo yung general mass. Kailangan nila bumili ng pagkain.
Yes.
Kailangan nila bumili ng tinapay, right?
I think ayuda in general is not a bad idea. It's like giving people help. But the abuse of it, the way it's done, the sheer scale na shocking scale na ang laki, too much ayuda, and the way it is dispersed, people are claiming to me, many people writing to me sa column ko in Philippine Star na Bante, claiming that the ayuda system is questionable, not efficient, not transparent, hindi umaabot, and alam mo, I would rather the ayuda given to people who are working. What do I mean? People who are working, who are paying taxes, the laborer in your factories, the teacher in the public schools, the soldiers, the small vendors in the mall, the small business people. I would rather you give ayuda to everybody who is paying taxes. Number one. Number two, give ayuda to people who will do some work, maybe sweep the floor, or farmers. I would rather the ayuda. I'm not saying we have to erase ayuda. I would get half of the ayuda and give it to micro and small business people. Then give the ayuda to farmers and fishermen, people who are working and who are paying taxes.
Do you think, Wilson, this is more sustainable that way? Because these MSMEs could actually put it into their businesses.
Yes, not only sustainable, these are money that when you give to them, they will create more jobs.
Exactly.
They will stimulate the economy.
Para siyang mas scalable.
Yes. Pero pag purely dole out through politicians na questionable na in the first place, I'm very disturbed. The whole economy is wasting its limited resources.
Got it. Okay.
Yes.
Next topic, Wilson.
Yes.
Under President BBM, one of the biggest announcements that he made last SONA,
Yes.
the shutdown of POGOs, right? Given their involvement with illicit activities,
Yes.
financial scams, kidnapping, right? Ang tanong ko,
Very good.
why did it take so long? Why, as a leader, what do you think was he weighing?
Very
between
good.
the, I don't know, like the pros and the cons?
That's
Bakit ang tagal?
alam mo, very good question. That entire question on Pogo could be one whole episode of this Pandesal Talks. I'll tell you why. I want to, this is my personal opinion. Every time people say that Duterte is pro-China or a stooge of China or a puppet of China, I would use the Pogo issue as an example. It's not true. Because the number one hatred of Chinese government, they hate the most Pogo. They hate gambling of all kinds, and most especially Pogo is illegal gambling pa. It's victimizing all the masses of China, the young people. So based on the news that I read, every time former President Duterte met China President Xi Jinping, every time on top of the list he would mention, can you please stop Pogo? Can you please stop all those illegal? Those are criminals from China that we in the Philippines allow to set up businesses here. That is one of the reasons we have very bad image in China, the Philippines, because we are like a haven for criminals. And all the legitimate big businesses of China, the Huawei, the Xiaomi of China, the BYD factories, are not coming here. They are going to Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, because we get the criminals. So why delay? It's like addiction yata eh. People are addicted to cigarette smoking. Everybody knows cigarette smoking is horrible, is smelly, is dirty, is unhealthy, cancerous. Everybody knows it's bad. But there are withdrawal symptoms. We're used to it. In the Philippines, a lot of people in government, they said they get taxes from the POGOs. But personally, sorry na lang to the politicians and bureaucrats, and police and military. I think the Pogos give more money as bribes or protection money, parang mafia, protection money, to all these bureaucrats, government officials, police, and military more than the taxes given to the government every year. So it's very hard for people to stop. And I think even politicians of all ideologies, all camps, no exception, all camps receive easy money from Pogo. So it's hard to stop. For that, I congratulate Bongbong Marcos for stopping Pogo, but I think it was too late. Long overdue. Dapat first day pa lang, he should have stopped it. And Duterte should have stopped it early also. Even Noynoy Aquino and Gloria Arroyo.
You know,
Yes.
Wilson, I was reading about that Pogo ban, right?
Yes.
I thought na yung gambling industry natin babagsak because of that Pogo ban. But did you
No.
know, last 2024,
Yes.
nag 25% increase pa yung gambling industry natin. And it could be because of the involvement daw of electronic gaming resorts, you know?
Very good what you just raised about gambling in the Philippines.
Right?
I am personally very disturbed. One day I will write a column about gambling. We have become a gambling republic.
Exactly.
Republika ng sugal.
You know, after
It's very bad for the culture of the country. Not only online gaming, even without the online gaming, you go to any of our casinos 24 hours, I don't see tourists. I see mostly local people. In the Philippines, I am very disturbed. Our very big casino resorts, most of the people playing slot machines and all these other games are local people. So I'll tell you, in Singapore, we should learn from Singapore. Singapore has some of the biggest casinos. But I admire the policy of government of Singapore. Lee Kuan Yew, Lee Hsien Loong, everybody. Alam mo, ginagawa nila. I remember, I hope they have not changed the policy. If you are a local person from Singapore, if you're a citizen of Singapore, you cannot enter the casino to even eat or watch the games if you don't pay $100 US. Imagine mo, $100 US, 5,000 plus pesos, entrance fee pa lang. So it's a disincentive for people unless you're an addict to gambling. And if you want to enter free, you have to show a foreign passport. You're a foreigner. And also, not only that, everywhere in the casinos, I noticed, I saw, may mga pamphlets sila all over the casino.
education.
Oh, are you an addict of gambling? Call this hotline. Call this hotline. Call this guidance counselor. We will save you.
Correct.
They know it's a sickness. It's a very bad thing. Unfortunately, in the Philippines, our leaders, many of them have become cynical. Cynical, parang thinking nila, okay lang yan. Victimless crime yan or something. Basta, there's something very wrong with our moral values of our leaders.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for
Yes.
that, Wilson. I think we might do a specific episode on that one. No?
Just gambling lang and pogo.
Tirahin natin yan
Yes,
in
very
one of
bad.
our episodes, right?
Very bad.
So, I want to move on to a couple of my other point naman.
Yes.
Okay, so it's now ICC,
Yes.
right? One of the hottest
Wow.
topics right now.
Yes.
With I heard, I
Yes.
don't know if these are just rumors, right? But this could have only happened
Arrest of former President Duterte.
because the current administration allowed it. Maybe in a different regime, hindi yan mangyayari. I don't know. Is that true? What's your take on that?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an expert. I did not watch the interesting public hearing of Senator Amy Marcos.
Okay.
But I read the news, the different clips, the videos and news. Based on all the readings that I got, I think the government of Bongbong Marcos admitted it na they were cooperating. That they were. It's not true. I think that they are not involved. They are very involved. In fact, I saw the interviews by other people, the public hearing. The government really cooperated. I believe so.
Do you think, Wilson, let's say you are part of that government administration, right?
Yes.
Do you think they just were doing the job that they were tasked to do? Or talagang meron din something dito?
That is very The claim of the government is that they are just doing their job.
Exactly.
Based on what I heard, the president said they just want to cooperate with Interpol because Interpol has cooperated with the Philippines on the cases of Tebes and other fugitives. But I think it is more than that. And most of the people in the Philippines, whether you are for or against Duterte, everybody knows that the government really cooperated. I believe so. And I think it's part of the political clash. Parang Game of Thrones. It's like one of those TV series. I really believe it's just part of the political quarrel.
It just doesn't end. No?
It's just the beginning.
It's just the beginning. Grabe. Ang lala. I think you wrote even in one of your Abante columns, Wilson, that in a similar parallelism, right?
Yes.
You talked about the capture of our former president, Emilio Aguinaldo.
Yes.
Back in 1901, and sort of found similarities to this.
Yes, I was.
Tao niya.
Yes, I was jokingly writing this column because some people of the Duterte camp keep on complaining that this is affront now to our sovereignty. This is a violation of Philippine sovereignty, allowing foreigners to get a Filipino citizen, a former leader.
Okay.
Then coincidentally, I write a column for Abante every Sunday, and then I was researching a few days before March 23.
Correct.
I said, what's happening March 23 in the history? Uy, nakita ko, Emilio Aguinaldo in 1901, March 23, was abducted by Americans using Filipino turncoats, people who supposedly betrayed Philippines. They disguised themselves as revolutionary soldiers of the Aguinaldo, and then they went to Palanan, Isabela, with fake prisoners, American prisoners. One of them, American General Funston yata, na they pretended to be captured by Filipino rebels. So it was coincidence pa. One day after the birthday of Emilio Aguinaldo. His birthday is March 22. So when they went to the headquarters in the province, there were all these decorations pa all over the previous night's decoration. And then, Aguinaldo was betrayed, abducted, and then they shipped him by a boat pa, military boat from Isabela all the way to Malacanang. And price catch. I'm not saying entirely it's the same, but parang deja vu in a way lang na I'm not saying right or wrong, but I'm not a lawyer, but I think most people would prefer him in the Philippines to be tried. Iglesia ni Cristo said so also. And I really sincerely believe our Philippine courts and justices are impartial and could make a fair trial for all the people complaining about.
Bagal, right?
Mabagal din sa ICC.
Sa bagay.
I think it will take years also sa
Really?
ICC. I think it will take years. Several years.
Okay. All right. So, out of all of that points, Wilson, and maybe too close, right?
Yes.
I guess from a quantitative standpoint, what letter, what number would you give President BBM on his economic performance and these bold decisions that he has done so far from a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest?
I think for good intentions, I will give him 8.5 for good intentions.
Hindi masama yan,
Good
ha?
intentions, ha?
Okay.
But for actual performance, I will give him 6, 5 or 6.
Pasang-awa.
Barely pasang-awa. Kasi, in fairness to Bongbong Marcos, the economy is still growing. But I'm unsatisfied. I think he could do much more pa. And he studied some economics in Oxford. Sana he should have better. I hope there will be less political noise. I hope after the election, which I don't think will happen, after the May election, I hope less headlines on politics in the Philippines and more economic headlines. More factories being opened, more tourists coming to the country, more investors. I'm very sick and tired actually of everyday reading in the headline news. It's all politics. Everyday politics. Whether local Philippine politics, even foreign policy, it's always politics. Foreign policy, whenever a foreign leader comes to the Philippines, we always talk about conflicts.
In hindsight, Wilson, what do you think was the last economic headline in the newspapers na natawa ka?
In fairness to the president, one aspect, he is trying his best. He is trying to stabilize inflation.
Okay.
Prices are still high, but not as high as last year.
Okay.
There are some, naalala mo sibuyas? We had sibuyas world
Sibuyas sili.
most expensive in the world and all that. I hope it will stabilize continuously. We should not be satisfied.
Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Wilson,
Yes.
for really showing us your economic hat as well. I really enjoyed it. No, it showed me a different.
By the way,
Wilson.
I forgot to tell you, even though prices are high all over the country, fortunately for the customers, breads in Kamuning Bakery Cafe are still consistently affordable. Ito, like this. This is our sourdough. Sourdough is French style healthy bread. Sourdough, always sold out, affordable, cheaper than those in Makati.
Lumalabot din sa wild flour? Lumalaban ba?
Less than half the prices, double the deliciousness. And this is soft monay. Look at the shape.
Ang ganda.
This is the Filipino version of shape, but sourdough syempre crispy ang malutong sa labas. Ito soft everywhere, outside, inside. Alam mo, I'll tell you Lance, itong soft monay, I eat soft monay even without palaman, even without feeling. Just this one and coffee is
Busog na.
bliss.
Yun.
Bliss. One of my favorites.
Thank you so much for joining us in our economic outlook of our
Yes.
President BBM.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.